Okay, so today's guest is Giada Labrecque, who is a holistic massage therapist and author based in Galway City, while originally being from Toronto, Canada. And to put things simply, she is a serial entrepreneur. She has a private practice for women called She Kneads, which is a holistic massage for women of all ages and stages of life, where she practices massage combined with reiki, reflexology, shiatsu, and aromatherapy. She offers other therapies such as access bars and specialized kinesiology. And she teaches a workshop called Basic Needs, which is teaching people the art of a great back massage. She also has a corporate wellness company called Office Kneads, where pre-lockdown she was facilitating on-site massage therapy, guided meditation, and yoga in offices. So that's a pretty cool bio with regards to a lot of different things. So thank you very much for being on the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I'm so used to me being the one saying those things. It's weird hearing somebody else say them.
Well, I hope I did it justice in that case. But yeah, actually, I'd
Yeah,
love for you
most of
then. Yeah, okay, cool. But so I'd love for you then to just break it down in your own words, like how you got to doing what you're doing, the fact that such, varied experience along the same type of work. So I'd love for you to just break that down for us.
it. Sure. So I've always loved the idea of being my own boss. The first business I ever started was called Jade of All Trades, and I registered it under philanthropy, so just like helping people. And that was my first business. Then my first massage-based business was called the Massage Garage, and I was the body mechanic. Um, and that was going well. That was back in Toronto. Then when I moved to Ireland, I recognized that I had the opportunity to design my businesses exactly how I wanted them, who I wanted to work with, who I didn't want to work with. And so what I did was I wrote a list of what I wanted out of a business. And what I wanted to do was work with women. And I wanted to offer stress relief and pain relief in the office. I'm friends with plenty of people who work in offices. I've worked in an office myself. I know how straining it can be, even though you're just sitting there all day. I know the aches and pains. And so I really wanted to find a way to help office people and specifically work with women. At that point in time, I really kind of specifically wanted to work with pregnant women, but I kind of gave myself the buffer of a bigger niche group of women of all ages and stages of life. So She Needs was born, like you said, massage, reiki, reflexology, shiatsu, aromatherapy, and now I'm expanding out into access bars therapy and the specialized kinesiology. The technique is called muscle tuning. I really wanted to find a course that was going to bring me through the anatomy again and then teach me something new. And the muscle tuning was exactly that. So that's my newest addition. And then Office Kneads, that I took quite a while to get off the ground. And sure enough, January 2020, I started to get wicked contracts. I was working with the HSC, which is like the Health Services of Ireland. I was doing chair massage for like the admin people who are behind the scenes. I was working in the local university, like the big university in Galway. I was getting contracts all kinds of places. And then sure, doesn't it all lock down and I can't get within 2 meters of people. So obviously I had to pivot the business. And what I decided to do was I wrote a book called Self-Care Solutions at Work. I don't have a copy of it with me because I gave all my copies away. But what it does is it's a resource and guide teaching people how to resolve their own aches and pains, teaching people about their body, how everyday aches and pains come up, and what can be done about them really simply, naturally, 100% easy. Um, and now I'm kind of teaching the content of that book to groups. So like on April 9th, I'm going to be in Dublin speaking to a group of 400 people that work at the airport, the people who take care of the luggage. And I'm going to be teaching them about their aches and pains and how to resolve them on their own. So that is kind of most of my business stuff in a nutshell.
Beautiful. Well, it seems like the overarching theme or like the string that ties it all together is definitely helping people through pain, right? Like, irregardless of like the first iteration of the business to like the current one with more of the speaking and the teaching. like that's at the heart of it, right? Like I'm helping people get out of pain because I know fundamentally it's not necessary, and there are things that they can do with it. So I'm just curious, like, was that like, does your story dive into like I've had all these aches and pains and then I got like rid of them and that's what I want to do in this work, or is it just kind of this was always something that was appealing to me?
Yeah, I was hit by a bus in 2000 and in 2014. I'm sorry, my partner just came in from busking and he has his double bass. I'm sorry if this interrupts. He just needs to put the
That's
double
okay.
bass.
Yeah. It's the real talk segments. So like real things tend to happen all the
I
time.
said,
So it's all good. We've
this is
listened. We've had like kids get onto the show, dogs barking, delivery people. Like it's been a wide gamut of things. So yeah, it's all good.
okay. Yeah, in and out anyway. So yeah, 2014, June 25th, I was hit by a bus and I'd sustained injuries all on my left side. I was on my bicycle when she had hit me. And I had fractured my sternum and a few ribs. I had damaged my left rotator cuff, herniated my L4, L5 disc, damaged my left SI joint. I sprained my ankle. My jaw had kind of gone out of place and had after that started really clicking and locking a lot. I swear there's other stuff I can't remember, but obviously not an easy set of injuries to deal with. And like right before that, I was at like my peak physicality. I was doing yoga every day. I was rock climbing. I was on a bicycle 12 hours a day. Um, I was in a really great place. And then sure, I get hit by a bus. And I think at the time, it was obviously, I was one of the most miserable people you would have ever met. I was in stupid amounts of pain. I had sciatic pain constantly, which I don't know if you've ever had sciatic pain, but it feels like somebody dragging like a hot dagger through your leg constantly. And I had that for about 6 months. So standing up, sitting down, lying down, hanging upside down, doesn't matter what you're doing, you're in so much pain all the time. And it's like nagging, nervy, awful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And so because of that, I think I can really understand people who are in pain. I can see somebody who most people would be like, what a miserable, you know. And I would look at this person and wonder what kind of pain are they in, and can I help them? So it really helped me connect with my clients, and I think it really gave me the edge that I needed to put a lot of heart into what I do. I was already signed up for school for massage therapy. I was my first few weeks really that I was in school when this accident happened, and I had a grant at the time that if I had missed 5 days of school in a row, I would lose the grant and I would have to pay for school out of my own pocket right away. And so I had to keep going to school, even though I had all these injuries. So I missed 4 days of school and then I went right back to it. Ironically, having to ride the bus to school from the same company that hit me. But yeah, so I was having to still sustain myself, support myself, and be in school while in stupid amounts of pain. And I am not a fan of pain pills. They had recommended some to me, but I said no. So I did all of it kind of chemical free and just really went down the path of trying to discover natural ways of pain relief. So that is a big passion of mine and something I like to talk about a lot. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that story because it's such an amazing story of living your own talk, right? Like it's one thing to talk about pain, but it's another thing to have your own experience of going through it and transcending it, etc. So not that I'm saying the other story isn't good, but I'm like, you should lead with this story. This is a much more powerful story, and it goes into like why you do what you do, which makes all of your expertise and knowledge like so much more powerful. So that's just an aside. But yeah, then I'd love for you to then dive into, now that you've pivoted into your business, you're doing all this new stuff. like what are you experiencing as far as like challenges in growing your business to that next revenue like plateau and milestone?
Sure. So COVID was a big one. Like I said, things were really finally taking off January 2020. And I had started the businesses in 2018, November of 2018, and just kind of went like, what's the term? Hell for leather. Went hell for leather with the business networking and just like put so much money into the business or the businesses really. And finally things were picking up January 2020. And then whatever, lockdown happens. And we kind of kept being like, just fed little bits of like, oh, it'll be 3 weeks, it'll be 2 months, it'll be. And so I really was delusional and thought my business will be able to continue in a couple of months. And so I kept putting my resources into the business and really burnt myself out. What am I even answering right now? What are my hangups? So that was one. I'm really not great with sales and marketing. I don't love selling myself. So I've tried many things. I have paid many people. I have been scammed. I lost probably about 4,500 euro trying to promote the book on somebody who promised me the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then it just turned out to be a scam. What else? Yeah. Sales and marketing. I just feel like I'm need to just give everybody all my stuff for free because I don't want to inconvenience them of having to pay for what I am offering. Even though probably the book that I have written will teach you more about yourself than any other book you'll ever read. Like it's seems so approachable because it looks like a children's book. I have a lot of like beautiful art in it from a friend of mine, so that anybody could read it. An 8-year-old or an 80-year-old could read it and they could learn something about themselves through it. And yet I feel bad asking people to pay me for this because it feels like something that everybody should just know. Everybody has a body. We should just all know how to take care of it. And the fact that I have this information, I don't want to be like the doctors out there that just kind of hold their expertise over your head and make you feel like you need to go to them and you need to pay them all this money to get that expertise. I just want to be like, here is this information that you should already have about yourself. Do with it what you will. But sure, a girl's got to eat too, right? So
100%. So there's a lot there, and thank you for sharing it. So just to kind of close off that little bit, as far as your reflection on it, knowing everything that you just shared, what do you think is your biggest challenge to overcoming this?
Valuing myself and my expertise, taking myself seriously, even though the rest of the world might not. Like, I feel like massage therapy is really not taken seriously as a healthcare profession, but I guarantee you, like 99% of the clients that I have get more out of one session with me than any session or any appointment they've ever had with a doctor. I don't know how to value that. And so, yeah, I just feel like, yeah, probably that.
Okay.
And being consistent.
Being consistent?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean when you say being consistent?
Like my energy really fluctuates around when I get really passionate about like, oh, I'm going to post to Instagram and I'm going to, reach out to people on LinkedIn. And then I'll maybe do it for a while and then it just kind of drops off because either doesn't feel authentic or it feels forced, or I feel like I'm being too pushy and inconveniencing people. I really have a hard time taking up my own space in the business world.
Okay. So
Does that answer your question?
it absolutely answers the question. So you have a lot of self-awareness, right? Like it's not like these things are a blind spot where you're like, okay, I don't really know what the pattern is. You're very well aware of what the pattern is. And it's very abundantly clear that like this is not your first foray into some kind of personal development or inner work. So my follow-up question then would be, knowing what you know, knowing the awareness that you have, why do you think you're not able to act on it?
Um, okay, well, I have gained some new insight just recently. And so I'm going to kind of share that with you. So if you had asked me this question a week ago, my answer would have been different. But based on the new information I have, I'm going to give you this answer. So for a long time, I thought I was self-sabotaging by not promoting myself and not initiating, seeking out business and drumming up business for myself. But I started looking into, I don't know if you've heard of the system human design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My housemate is massively into it. And so she got me into it. And I've been learning about myself through it. And I am a projector. And my strategy is to wait for the invitation. So I am not meant to initiate. I am meant to work on myself and work on my energy and focus on, learning and taking care of myself until I am invited to do something. Only when I am invited to do something will something actually go well. If I initiate and try to force it, it doesn't end up going well. And if I look back at my life, 100% that stands true. And so now that I'm learning that I just need to wait for the invitation and that the invitation inevitably comes, that is what am I answering right now? That is kind of how I need to approach things, maybe. What am I answering again? Sorry.
It was knowing what you know and having the awareness that you have.
Yeah.
Why do you find it hard to act on it? Right. So
Oh,
your answer
okay.
was, okay, so I've realized even in my human design, my energy type and the way that kind of I operate energetically is where I have most success when the invitation comes to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Which definitely makes sense. And to be fair, I'm not a human design expert. I've had my chart done. I know of it. So wherever I take you next will be more from my own experience, not
Yeah.
necessarily from like reading the charts. If something doesn't align with how you understood or whatever, by all means, feel free to call me out.
Totally.
What I would reflect back to you in that case is the invitation, while accurate as far as like, yeah, you're probably going to get the most like asymmetrical type of results from that, as opposed to being the one that's going out to push and to get business or whatever. What are the conditions that make the invitation one that is best suited for the highest good of both parties?
What are the conditions? Um, that's a hard question. What are the conditions? I mean, it has to like honor what I do and my values. And if I have a client try to ring me for an appointment and it's a man, then that's out. That's not in the conditions. I treat women, and so if it's a woman calling me for treatment and I don't know. I feel like I'm not, I feel like I'm faffing with this answer.
It's not a
Conditions.
test. There's no right or wrong answer. So just
Thank you.
know
Yeah.
there's no report card at the end of this. So you're all
Pressure
good.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it just has to it has to align with what I do, because for a while there, especially during lockdown, and I was joining a few different groups, I was being asked to do things that weren't in my skill set, and I was being asked to be someone and be someone else that who I'm not, and do things for projects, but they weren't what I do at the end of the day. And I exerted a lot of energy trying to fill that role, even though that's not who I am and that's not what I do. And then when it came to um, my own business, I didn't have the energy to put the effort into my own business because I was doing all these other things. Even like a friend of mine, she manages a holistic shop, a crystal shop in town, and for the Christmas season she asked me to help, and I said yes, of course, like I love that stuff, but it took so much away from my business. And like, not to make it about money, but like I make more in 2 hours in a session than I do 8 hours standing in a shop all day. And so even though the invitation was something that I was like very excited to do, I should have looked at it realistically and been like, does this actually line up with my values and what I want for myself? And the answer would have been no. And now I'm learning how to recognize those invitations.
100%. So that's actually a great example of why I asked you that question, right? Because it's clear that you're not short of invitations, right? Somebody's asking me to come help in their crystal shop. I'm getting asked to do this type of work. And it may be also on the massage side that like I'm not qualified in. I'm getting men to ask me for services, but I only work with women. So it doesn't, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but it doesn't sound like you are short of invitations for opportunities to do stuff. Like that's not the part that's lagging. It is the right opportunities that's lagging. Is that accurate?
Yeah, definitely. Lately, I have been getting invitations for things that are aligned with what I'm doing, like the airport thing. Really looking forward to that. And I think, I don't know how much of a universe person you are, but I think the more you actually stand for what your values are with the universe and say no when certain things come up, then it's like, okay, she knows how to say no now. Okay, let's give her the real things, you know? I don't feel like it's always going to be the right type of stuff right away, almost as like a test to be like, is she just gonna faff about, or is she gonna figure out what's right for her and what's not?
100%. And that's exactly where I was leading these questions and what I wanted to explore, right? So the original way we got to here was like I asked you, so what are the conditions that make your energetic makeup most aligned with your highest good? Meaning, how can I show up? What are the conditions around how I show up so that the invitations that I do get are actually the ones that I'm excited about or within my highest good? Okay.
Mhm.
So knowing what you know now and what you shared, what do you think those conditions would be?
The conditions are that I am taking the time for myself, not squandering my energy on things that are not aligned with my highest good and what I'm here to do, my life purpose, my soul purpose, whatever you want to call it. So taking the time to myself, to do the things that I enjoy and that keep me healthy, to reserve my energy for the clients and the projects that are actually aligned with what I want for myself down the line. Um, and learning how to say no confidently and in a very, what's the word, like friendly way, not just being, you know, rude about it, but learning how to say, no, that doesn't align with me. I might know somebody who can help you with that, or, leave it with me. Let me think about it, as opposed to just saying yes and then having to backtrack later and be like, oh, actually, this doesn't suit me.
Agreed. And to add to that, if you just rewind back the conversation that we've been having here today, right?
Mm.
And look at it from the lens of how am I showing up to get the best invitations, right? So look at the aspect of your narrative in terms of how it reflects who you are. I need to give things away for free. I don't want to inconvenience people by making them pay, right? I feel bad when people pay me for this. I don't want to be like the doctors who are going to hold things back from like me giving my expertise. I need to take myself more seriously, right? I tend to give things away even though it's high value, but again, I don't want to inconvenience people to pay. I'll
Yeah.
prioritize saying yes to other people's needs over my own because there's a part of me that doesn't really value or thinks that I should value what I have. I should just give it away for free. So when you look at the totality of that, what do you think are the energetic circumstances through which you're creating these invitations?
When are the energetic? Yeah, there needs to be a certain element of, maybe, I don't know if self-love is necessarily the thing, but there's like a value system there that's not right. So how do we fix that, Jasco?
That's a great question. So it's obviously not going to be a, one and done kind of thing.
Okay.
What I'm more curious about is when I reflect that back, and when you went back and you thought about it, it's like, okay, well, is it a self-love thing? There's parts of myself that I don't value, etc. What's happening for you internally? Like, how does that make you feel?
Squirmy. Because like ultimately I don't want to like let myself down. And I want to value myself. I don't want to be afraid to value myself, and I shouldn't worry about how other people are going to perceive that valuation of myself.
Mm-hmm. So tell me more about the squirminess. Like, whoa, like where do you feel that in your body? What's that all about?
Yeah, it's like in my abdomen. So I guess like solar plexus, kind of willpower, ego, self-esteem is where I feel it.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit in my throat. My throat is generally quite blocked. And I usually struggle finding the words. So yeah, those two areas.
Okay. So throat's kind of blocked. I've got the squirmy feeling within my abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to connect with those pieces right now, what would they say?
I mean, the throat, it just kind of feels like, duh, like we've known this. Like, what do you expect? And then my abdomen, not getting anything. It's just kind of like uncomfortable.
That's fair. So what I find curious is you'd mentioned your throat and you'd follow that up with, I usually have a hard time finding the words. Meanwhile, I would be very surprised if anybody listening to this today, myself included, would conclude that you have a hard time finding words. Like everything that you've described, from your story to your business to the self-awareness around everything, to the breakdown of like, my solar plexus chakra will feel this and it feels like that, and then this is what's happening here. It's probably like related to my ego. Like it's very eloquently put. So it's very interesting to me that that is what came up. So I would venture to, or invite you to consider whether that is a defense, right? Oh, I just don't have the right words. I don't have the right marketing. I don't like this to sell, right? Like, does that all fall into that same category? Similarly, right? As soon as I ask you to tune into the squirmy feeling in your stomach, suddenly from this, grand self-awareness and eloquence and sharing everything, I got nothing, right? So yeah, like something doesn't fully add up. So if you want, we can dive deeper into that. If you are okay to like do that on your own, you can. Like I'm, going to go as fast as you want to go and as far as you want to go. But I just want to reflect that back to you. So what
Yeah,
comes up for you in that reflection?
we can try that. I am keen to clear that blockage, whatever it is. And even just kind of yesterday, I was checking what gates I had blocked in the I Ching part of the human design. And literally it was like a valuation of self-worth and something to do with lack mentality and resources.
Yeah. So same theme coming up again, right?
Yep.
So if you are willing to go down that road, so if you were to tune into that squirmy feeling in your stomach,
Yeah. Okay.
can you just take a moment then to do that?
I'm starting to sweat.
Yeah. So all is welcome here. If you need to sweat, swear, whatever,
Yeah.
you're welcome to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, you're gonna lead. We're gonna go as far as you want to go. You can stop at any time. That part's all good. So allow yourself to connect to that part in your stomach and
Mm-hmm.
let me know when you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Perfect. So what's coming up when you connect to it?
It feels a bit empty, especially compared to like my other energy centers. It feels kind of void.
Beautiful. Can you
Yeah.
describe the void? Like, is it like a well? Is it like what's the void like?
It's like a pothole, or like, you know, when you're like walking in a field and then all of a sudden there's like a dip and you step into it and it's like awkward.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how that feels.
Perfect. And can you describe it in as much detail as you can? Like, does it have a color? Does it have like a particular shape? How deep is it?
Yeah, so maybe like a murky greenish yellow, and it's maybe like 2.5 feet deep.
Beautiful. And it's 2.5 feet deep, right in the center of your abdomen.
Yeah.
Okay. How old is that piece?
Internal family systems. How old is that piece? How old are you? Maybe six. Six. Six is what comes for me.
Okay. And what happened around 6 years old to put that there?
Well, what happened at 6? My brother was born, or my brother was uh, coming into the world, and I really did not want him there.
Okay.
I feel kind of bad saying that to the public.
It's okay. You're safe amongst strangers, so it's all good. Um, how do you think that's related to the pieces that you brought up today, as far as like unworthiness and value and all those aspects?
Okay, well, if you want to get like super real, my mom never wanted a girl. She wanted 3 boys, and I was told that quite regularly, that she didn't want a girl, and that she preferred boys. And so I, was a very like sporty kid. I did really well in school. I was quite a tomboy. Uh, and then when I was like 6, 5.5, 6, my parents asked me, "Do you want a little brother or sister?" And I said no. And they're like, "Oh, well, you're getting one." And then sure, we found out it was a boy, and she was fucking delighted. And so she got her little boy, and I ceased to exist. And I was very much kind of like, go to your playroom, go, go. Um, and anytime we were watching TV, it was stuff that was for my brother. Um, yeah, I kind of, as it is, I struggled for my mother's love when I was young. And then when he came around, it was like, yeah, good luck. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom at that, like when he came around, she stopped working, and stayed at home with the both of us. And she was definitely depressed but would never admit it. She didn't have the capacity to show up for me. I don't ever remember my mother even playing with me, for instance. Like, I have, yeah. And the last time I did internal family systems, I recognized that my mom had no interest in what I had to say. Anytime I tried to talk to her, share something with her, tell her anything, she would always just kind of shush me and send me away. I think it was because my mom, she did not speak English when I was born. And growing up in Canada, I was growing up learning and speaking English. And then I would go to try to speak to her, and she didn't understand a lot of what I was saying. So she would just kind of send me away. So I developed this programming that told me I don't have anything valuable or interesting to say, and I'm just inconveniencing people. And yeah, then my brother showed up and it all got worse. Not like I blamed him for a very long time, probably until he was like 6 or 7. But I don't blame him anymore. I have done 10 years of therapy about this stuff. Yeah, no matter how well I did in school, no matter how well I did in sport, no matter how well behaved I was, my mom always found something to complain about or tell me I was doing wrong. I spent a lot of time grounded as a kid, but I guarantee you I was the best kid you'll ever meet. Like, I was the most polite, the quietest. I tried so hard. And yeah, she was not interested. So that.
So, well, first and foremost, I just want to commend you on going there, especially, in this container of, this type, etc. Like it's a testament to your willingness to really heal. And I would say walk your own talk, right? As somebody who deals with pain, like without ever having like experienced your services or really knowing you outside of this conversation, like I know when you say I deal with pain holistically, like I can see that, I can feel that, because you don't get to those kinds of answers without going that deep and that holistically. So number one, I just want to acknowledge you for that. Number two, if you look back again on this conversation, that there's a lot of patterns now that are clear, right? That this major, maternal wounding that happened at that time, you are now finding it's playing out in your business. And yes, there are other layers of the false self on top of it, but the core one, right? Like you mentioned, anything that I tried to show to my mom that was significant to me in my life. I did well in school. I did well in sports. There was things that were relevant. She was in pain herself, right? Which there might have been patterns where like you're trying to save her because she's in pain and she matters to you. No matter what I tried to share as far as my own significance, it was always inconvenient, right? And I think a lot of the story about my words and my throat chakra being blocked, despite the evidence to the contrary, are that my words are insignificant and they're inconvenience to other people. So when you look at how that plays out in your business right now, right, it is an inconvenience for me to show up in a way that allows people to invite themselves into my world, because fundamentally speaking, the things that I care about, and I care a lot about pain and helping people get out of it, is something that's irrelevant, worthless, and inconvenience to other people, right? Couple that with the worthiness aspect, with the brother dynamic, right? What is emerging for you right now is really through the vehicle of your business, specifically sales, promotion, and marketing, is to heal deeper these aspects of yourself in this particular vehicle, right? So it's like the business growth, the ceiling to it is much less about what you know. I would argue much less about your eloquence and your words and your ability to describe. I mean, you wrote a book, right? Like it's not a small thing to do as far as words. They are really limited by your ability to heal this aspect of yourself. So I know that was a lot, but how does all of that land for you?
Yeah, it feels pretty bang on. Can I tell you what my mom said to me when I told her that I published my book?
Sure.
She said, oh, maybe your brother will write one next.
Yeah.
Literally, those were her words.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really does land. And I feel like because I've been in therapy for 10 years and been doing every type of therapy, to resolve this and address this, I feel like it would have been dealt with already, but evidently not. And I guess I've never really connected those dots of like sales, marketing, my business, and my shortcomings there with the inner child trauma and pain and stuff there. But and even with my brother, like and the whole like, you know, I'm not a man, he is a man, a boy, and that's what she wanted. I feel like even if you look at, excuse me, the dynamics of like the patriarchy, okay, or like the system, the man, the whatever that has like stepped in and burned all the witches and fucking came around and said like, actually the way you do things, that's quackery, that's not okay. If you try to heal people with the weeds in your garden, then you deserve to die. But sure, we can just like step in here and experiment on people and, you know, bleed people and put leeches on them and do all these things that like otherwise, if you look at it now, it's super barbaric, some of the shit that they did back then. And but they programmed us to just trust that and accept that because of the fear that if we leaned into the feminine and we leaned into those like natural abilities, that was somehow wrong and that was somehow bad and we had to feel bad for it. Sorry, I hope I'm not yelling at you right now.
No, you're definitely
Feel
not
like,
yelling.
I
Yeah, I mean,
feel
I
like
would
I'm
just, and I'm not cutting you off because I want to cut you off or what you're saying is not relevant. It's just more, I do have a hard stop at the end of the hour, and I want to
oh,
make sure
okay.
that you know, are complete within the container. I would, what I would reflect back with what you just said is those very same things that you got passionate about are the very same things that want to emerge from you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, but you put a target on your back when you do that.
You do, which again is exactly the courage piece that is coming up, because when the business is about you and you are the business, right? The only way for it to grow is if you become more visible, express yourself, and really, like you said, own space.
Yeah.
By virtue of owning space, especially in a bright light of like, I can actually help people out of pain, that
Yeah.
is a guaranteed light that's going to be like shined on people who don't want to face the shadow aspects of themselves. You're guaranteed that is going to put, because it's easier to put you down than it is to lift themselves up. That's definitely
Yeah.
going to put a target on your back. That is why these things are coming up for you right now. The limitation to your business is not what you know or even the tactics that you execute. It is the energy you bring to it, which is why you're saying yes to invitations that don't align with you, or saying it less often, you know, whatever the case might be, or you're not getting the invitations that you really want, right? Like that part of your soul design, like that is where you're most like energetically, like path of least resistance, right? But it doesn't mean that can't be distorted by how the rest of the container shows up. So
Yeah.
that's just what I want to reflect back.
I feel also because of maybe some of that energy, but also the fact that like what I'm offering to people is not easy. Like they have to do the work. People have to show up for themselves and do the work in order for my information to be effective.
Correct.
And that is probably triggering for a lot of people. And they're like, oh, that sounds like work. No, 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 I'm not going to do that.
100%. But the longer that you show up from this limited, false, unworthy self, the more those people you're going to have to deal with, because they
Yeah.
are more in alignment with where you are right now than where your full, whole, like walking in wholeness self is actually going to be. Stepping
Mm.
into that piece, you're going to have much more invitations that are like with the people that really want to handle their pain, much the same way that you handled your pain. Right. So that goes back to the original question we started with, like, what are the conditions that create the invitations that you want? That's a big, big part of this.
Yeah. So healing those parts of myself and kind of showing up as my highest form, you know, like evolving into that, you know,
Correct. Correct.
dimensional being, whatever dimension of being that is kind of like going Super Saiyan. Did you watch Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, I did. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a going Super Saiyan bit. So this is like
yeah,
getting your ass beat before you realize you can turn Super Saiyan. Correct.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, 100%. So anyway, I know we can't dive into all of that and obviously heal all of that, in a container like this. I appreciate you for showing up in the way that you have. I think it's a great example of walking your own talk and what it really takes to do this work. So I commend you for that. Um, as far as like what we can handle in this container, like, does this feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding?
I feel like it definitely pointed me in a direction. Yeah. I think it's been massively helpful. I appreciate your patience and the fact that you can go to these levels with me because, not everybody can have these discussions and even know how to respond to it. Right. So yeah, no, I thank you for that. I don't think anything is really left there's clearly steps that need to be taken, but I don't feel like we haven't taken any unnecessary steps. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep, 100%. So in that case, if that does feel complete, why don't you just close us off, let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I have a bunch of free content on,
Yep.
on Instagram. It's called Office Kneads, OFFICEKNEADS. You can find all kinds of information there. And that'll also have a link to my website that has a link to the book. I also offer one-on-one consultations so that people can tell me what their aches and pains are, and I can tell them how to resolve said aches and pains. Even for people who are curious about complementary and alternative medicine, but they don't know where to start. I love having that conversation. I really want to create a business where it's like triage, but without the emergency. So they're just like, here are my problems. And I'm like, great, you need to see an acupuncturist for that. And it sounds like you should be doing this type of therapy. And that, if anybody wants to have that kind of conversation, I'm not interested in just hearing people complain about their problems and then they do nothing. I want people who want solutions and are willing to do that work. So yeah, Instagram. Otherwise, my website is askgiada.com/learn more. As of today, I have people working on the website, so I don't know how available it will be. But if you go right now, I'm sure nothing has been done to it just yet. So it's askgiada, GIADA.com/learn more. And yeah, you can find the book there. I also created video content of all the book content, so I will have to find a way to put that up somewhere on a platform. But it is coming, so if people don't want to read and they want to see it in video format, I will have that at some point in the near future. I think that's it.
Sounds like it. So we'll include whatever the links are in the show notes. So no worries, they will all be there. But regardless, thank you very much for coming on, being vulnerable. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Draskos. Thank you so much.